Well, welcome in to this very special broadcast of our prayer time with both of us. I'm Andy, and that's Austin, and
Austin.
we're really glad that you're joining us. Hopefully live, and if not live, then you're joining us on demand on YouTube, on Facebook, on Bayhope TV, all of those amazing things. We had some really fun stuff that we wanted to talk about with you today, but first and foremost, as we let the internet catch up, as we always do in any of these broadcasts, we're going to do just a little bit of a 30-second countdown as the internets sync up. There I go. I just got a notification right there. So we'll be back in 30 seconds. Well, here we go. We are in another exciting week. How are you, Austin?
I am fantastic, Andy.
Yeah?
How are you?
Good. We're sitting like rather far away, but
Yeah.
don't let that scare you. We're actually good buddies, and we're really close together. This is what it is. Actually, we're set up for our podcast later, which you can catch tomorrow, the weekday, and then on Thursday you can catch Figuring It Out as well. Some more Bayhope TV content for you in your ears and in your video streams. But hey, today we actually wanted to kick off something a little bit different, and we've been teasing it all last week and really the last couple of weeks, and then on Sunday as well. I think this is going to be something that's really cool, actually. And we are actually going to be jumping into a Bible study together. It is kind of going to be a one-way Bible study, except we also want to hear from you. And so to kick all of this off, I'm going to turn it over to our good buddy Austin, as he's kind of the one running the show. So Austin, what's going on with this Bible study here?
So we're walking through what we call being with Jesus. And there's a main component to being with Jesus, and that's study and meditation in God's Word. And we want to do that with you guys. We want to be together with Jesus, and kind of like what we were talking about previously, like the dust of the rabbi, really just following and knowing his commands and knowing how we can apply that. And so in this kind of, the branding you see around is in plain speech, and that's breaking down a book of the Bible in plain speech. And the book we're going to study for, it's going to be about a little longer than a month,
Sure.
But it's the book of Proverbs, and we're going to go a chapter a day, just gleaning the wisdom from the book of Proverbs. And we mentioned previously in some of the previous teaser trailers, if you will, to this segment, is that we can see Jesus even in this Old Testament book of Proverbs. Even in this book of wisdom, we still see Jesus, and we still see how we can know Jesus more intimately and walk more closely with Jesus.
Absolutely.
Through the book of Proverbs.
Absolutely. And I'm excited. There's going to be a couple of different ways that we're going to be splitting this up as well. So we will have a video component some days. Pretty much every day we're going to have, every day we're going to have two different text components as well. So you're going to get an email in your inbox every single morning with kind of the daily meditation for the day. And it's going to allow you to really take some time and be with Jesus. You don't necessarily need to be part of the online campus. You don't need to be doing anything along those lines. You're going to get that email every day, like 5 a.m., maybe even 4 o'clock a.m., depending on whenever we set the schedule. And you'll be able to meditate with us and really kind of study with us. That email is also going to be set up to have replies to it as well. So if something strikes you, if you kind of pull something out of there that you go, oh, I didn't even, that part of that chapter that I just read in Proverbs 14, Austin and Andy didn't even talk about. So I would love for them to know this. Email us back every single day. We want to know those things, and we want to be praying with you, and we want to connect with you through that. So that's the first component. The second component is actually, you can see the link that I just posted, facebook.com/group/Bayhope Church. We have a very alive and thriving Facebook group that is dedicated around our online campus. We've been building it for a couple years. It's really great to be in there and praying with people and kind of living with people even in this weird digital medium. And so everything is also going to be in there as well. My microphone keeps spinning. You are right. This microphone keeps spinning. everything is going to be in that Facebook group as well. And obviously Facebook is a great way to connect with people back and forth. And so you can comment on posts and, we can really kind of share life and do life together. And so we're going to be kind of doing that. That's going to be 5 days out of the week, right?
Yep.
So
every weekday.
Every weekday, we're going to be taking the weekends off. So obviously, like Austin said, this is going to run a little bit longer than just a month. It'll run 6 weeks-ish.
Yeah.
There's 31 chapters in Proverbs. And we're going to be walking through stuff every day. And it's going to, some of those days, like I said, we're going to have a video component. And so that's going to be like this. It's going to be one of us in front of a camera or both of us in front of a camera talking with you and praying with you and really wanting to really get to know you and connect with you and study with you and learn along with you. And these comments in these live videos are going to be extremely important and vitally important to really what we're doing here as a church, because we do want to engage with you and we do want to focus on Jesus, focus on being with Jesus. So for example, like today is day 1 of Proverbs. Proverbs 1 all the way through, I don't even know how many verses are in the book of Proverbs, or in the first chapter. 33 verses, Proverbs 1 through 33. And Proverbs, if you know anything about it, was written by the teacher. But we think it was
Solomon.
I mean, most translations say it's Solomon, son of David, but it's really so Ecclesiastes does the Koholeth, and then I think Proverbs is just Solomon.
Proverbs, it's like a compilation. There's like Solomon. There's
later on there's somebody else. Yeah,
Lemuel.
Yeah. And then who writes the Psalm 31 thing about women? Is that Solomon?
No,
I always feel like that was somebody else, right?
That's somebody else. The name is escaping me, but don't worry, we'll get there.
We'll get there. Hey, we're figuring this stuff out with you as well. But like Proverbs 1, go ahead and kind of walk us through where you land in Proverbs 1.
So Proverbs 1, it seems like Solomon is taking time to set apart the whole theme of this book. And as we get later on in the different chapters, it seems like there's not one overarching theme for each chapter. It seems like there's a bunch of little thoughts that he compiled together.
Yeah.
But the overarching theme that runs throughout the entire book, despite his little segues and rabbit trails, is seeking and finding wisdom and where we can find it. And in Proverbs chapter 1, he kind of sets the stage that, number one, wisdom is readily available to all people of all places, of all times. Wisdom is available. The wisdom of Jehovah God is available to you right now. However, he lays out how we go about finding this wisdom, how we go about establishing this wisdom. And he really goes about it in verse 7. And I think, you have that up on the screen there. In verse 7, it says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction." We see that the beginning of knowledge, how we get to wisdom, is through the fear of the Lord. And this idea of fear isn't necessarily terror or dread, but instead it's this reverential awe and respect. Like you would respect a father figure in your life. How you listen to his wisdom and his advice because you fear him, you respect him. That is what Solomon is trying to get at here. It's this idea of humbling ourselves. That is saying that we do not know everything. We are not going to know true wisdom in and of ourselves.
Right.
But that we run to the source of all wisdom. And he says later on in the chapter in verse 20 that wisdom, he kind of personifies wisdom and says that she raises her voice aloud in the public square, emphasizing that, hey, it's available to all. It calls out, it cries out. The question for us is, will we humble ourselves before God? And will we ask him to give us the wisdom that we need in our situations?
And then I like how you put in the textual comment as well. You asked that question: will we humble ourselves before God and trust him to guide us even when we can't see in front of us?
Right.
And I think that is such a vitally important part of the book of Proverbs. I'm going to be honest, I dislike the book of Proverbs. And we talked about this in another live video. It's not that I dislike, I don't dislike it like I dislike traffic or anything, but I dislike it because anytime I read the book of Proverbs, I always seem to just follow down those rabbit trails. And so Solomon will be talking something about, a wise fool or a wise man does this, but a fool does this. And it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, like I get it. And then there's something about like, hey, money doesn't make the world go round. And then there's something like, hey, make sure you find a good woman or make sure you find a good spouse. And then it feels like Solomon has holy ADD. It feels like he's
like
just
that.
all
Holy
over the
ADD.
Yeah, it just feels like he's kind of all over the place. But you're right. As long as we keep returning to, are we going to trust God to outlay our wisdom into these things? That is such a perfect perfect way to encapsulate the entire book.
And also, the thing is, Solomon writes this. You see him often saying, "My son." He's writing this to his immediate family, saying, "Hey, this is the wisdom I've gained," kind of like this divine experience. What he's gone through, he's saying, "Hey, this is what I've seen play out. I trust God." Like he's saying, I obviously trust God because the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. But he's saying, based upon my experience, this is what plays out. And we often see that he says later on, he says, "Hey, stay away from this temptation because knowing this in myself, this is dangerous."
Yeah.
And so we see that kind of, I like to call it divine experience, right? We see his experience and his interaction and what he knows based upon, and the wisdom he gains based upon his own experience as well.
Absolutely. Well, like this is just some of the stuff that we're going to be kind of digging into over the next days and weeks, really. Like I said, we want to hear from you as well. So as you're reading through each day along with us, let us know in comments and in emails back to us and in things like that, how these things are striking you and what you're pulling out of the passage and how you can concentrate on wisdom today and, little steps that you can do to concentrate on God's wisdom throughout the day, especially as we are going through really kind of the month of January. Is it January already? Month of July into August. School season is going to be starting back up for a lot of parents. Even if you are just fresh out of college and you're turning into the young professional, you kind of have that innate thing inside of you that says, "Oh man, I got to get ready for school." And so August is always kind of it feels like it's a bit of a close, a cap. And we want to know how you're capping your summer off and how you're really launching into the fall as well. Anything else as we close up shop here?
I'm excited.
Awesome. It's going to be great. Like I said, be on the lookout through your emails and through Facebook and probably through Instagram at some point and probably through Twitter at some point. But we love you and we can't wait to get through the book of Proverbs with you. Talk to you soon.